Frieren Beyond Journeys in episodes 11 and 12. Frieren has got all the aura now. Let's talk about it. Welcome back, Evariants. We're talking about Frieren, episodes 11 and 12. Yes, Frieren has all the aura because she took Aura's head. She was not playing around. She's like, you done. Technically, she didn't even take it. She took it, but they were taking it. But again, great freaking episode. This one, we see that Granite is thankful for everything that happened, and mainly with Frieren respecting the dead during the process because she didn't take out a lot of the soldiers. She took out a couple that were more or less just dropped because they lost the spell, and she was able to eventually take out Aura. Now, this was all because Himmel had scolded Frieren before about using her flashy and destructive spells that she was used to using. And with that being said, Frieren praised Stark and Fern for their ability to get everything done. And with that, Granite is even more thankful because not only did they, try to protect and, rescue him, but during the course of Frieren's, I won't say rampage, but just her kind of getting back at Aura, she kept the bodies intact, and that allowed Granite to find his son's body amongst all the soldiers and give everyone a proper burial, and a proper celebration was in order. So it was great to see how that he's kind of closing that chapter in his story, because that is something he mentioned earlier, dealing with the other demons. Now, he ends up giving the grimoire to Frieren as promised, and they both know that it's a fake. Reason being is that the actual spell that controls the ward kind of over the city is actually passed down through tongue. So it's a spoken spell that's given from, I guess, one leader to the next. Thing is, if just one person knows it and they get taken out, what happens? Curious. I mean, if it's still up, maybe it just stays up and doesn't ever come down, and no one can ever take it. I don't know. Again, little random thoughts. Either way, um, everyone still remains formal throughout the thing, because that was one of the problems, was that whenever you spoke, if you spoke wrongly to nobility, it was a capital offense. Like, you'd be taken out. They were not playing around. So even though Himmel and Eisen almost died for it in the past because they talked too casually, we see that Granat is a little bit more forgiving, especially when everything happened with Stark. And Stark was kind of talking a little too casual, but everything's good. Town celebrates Freeman's party, and they pay respects to all the fallen warriors throughout the big funeral, and they end up, getting ready to head, I guess, further north. Now, Granette escorts Freeman's party to the gates, and Dursley explains that they must be accompanied by a first class mage to get to where they're going. But the problem is, Freeman did not keep up with her licensing and everything that was revolved around that. So the old things they used to have, which is like little charms or necklaces with it, none of the stuff applies anymore. And we saw that Fern has registered as a third class mage before she left for everything. So she's got third class abilities. Frieren, who has more of the first class abilities, is not registered as one, so she cannot be considered one. She's going to have to test. Hey, don't let your license expire. So, with that being said, they end up having to deal with the Continental Magic Association, I think it is, and they're the ones who regulate the mages. So they have to go to Alberst, and that's past the the some of the mountains that they have to kind of travel through, and these are like all snowy, it's all winter and all that kind of stuff. And basically, they start traveling up that way, and they end up running into a elf named Kraft, who has a cabin. It was the only warm place that they could be because Stark pretty much passed out from the cold. He's not used to it. So they get in there, they get warmed up after a few awkward moments. Of course, they end up befriending Kraft and learning more about him and how he's an elf that's been around. Again, Frieren doesn't see a lot of her kind, and this is a monk actually who is very, you know, physically freaking, just a great specimen that Stark admires. Like, he works out freaking great. Like, can you teach me some things? And they end up kind of having a few talks about, I guess, more or less religion and just kind of what, who believes. And this is during, Kraft is like, taking Freeman out to go get supplies and kind of talk. And while they're there, they're talking, they're training, they're foraging, they're doing all types of things. And basically it's like, why do you, not believe in, I guess, the goddess? Because obviously does, and he wants somebody to remember him for his deeds and everything that he's done. And since all his friends that I guess he's had are long gone, the goddess will still remember him and kind of praise him for his deeds, I guess, or something to that effect. Frieren has always kind of flown under the radar, and that's kind of the thing that she was taught by Flame is, again, safety and being, kind of under the radar. So that's just kind of the conversation they had, and it's like, I'll do it for you even if nobody will. And we actually find out that someone else was already doing it for her. And that's where, you know, Himmel and, the rest of the party, Eisen and, everybody came in. Hyder, I think, was especially the one who talked about it, was like, since you don't worry about it yourself, I'll do it for you. And there's always the jokes about the corrupt priest. So, nice little back and forth that they had about their accomplishments. And they end up spending 6 months here. So 6 months in this cabin, the way time goes by. And I like the way they do this because with Elle's time goes by quickly for Frieren. This is her story, so it's not noticeable to us right away. We just see, oh crap, 6 months has passed, but it seems like no time at all as far as the way the story progresses. So we end up seeing, Frieren and party get ready to move on because they've got everything that they've done here, and the goddess. I guess the main point from that is that the goddess only attracts the strongest of people and whatever it is that Frieren kind of needs at the time, and that's one of the reasons why she has her party, and they're able to kind of be together. So it's like it's done for a reason, and that's kind of the big thing that I think Kraft was hitting at. Like all this kind of transpires as it should. So with that being said, we end up moving into episode 12, where Frieren now collapses in the snow because she's tired. Stark offers to carry her several times, but Fern keeps declining, and she says she'll do it. And while they're doing this, we see that they end up they're heading to a new city, and there's some kind of royal guy who's kind of sitting on the throne. I guess he's kind of looks. I don't know if he's part of the Mages Association or he's a king in the next town that they're going to. So they have to be very respectful when they're there. But we end up getting kind of a little flashback of the hero party travels and Himmel's hero sword. And we find out that it's a fake. His sword that he used the entire time was a fake, and it was a gift given to him by Hyder, and he's using it to prove Hyder wrong, saying that I can get stuff done with this sword, and that's apparently what he's been doing. Now we end up cutting back to Frieren's party, and we see that they're trudging on. Fern's still refusing to help with Frieren, calls Stark a perv because obviously the way he's like, I'll take her, and he's got his hands up. So she's like, yeah, no. But as they go through, they make it to the next village, we see a child who is the 49th chief of the village. And, Stark is excited because this is the village that protected the hero sword, the one that Himmel supposedly has. And only the hero who will drive off the great calamity is going to be allowed to claim the sword. And the Lord of the Mountains has been a pain since they've been there. And she's like, Frieren, you're supposed to have been here. Like, my grandmother or whatever told me to tell you this because whatever. So pretty much cursing her out. Like, where the heck you been? What's been going on? So we see them like, all right, we'll take care of it first thing in the morning. And they go out there and there's like a bunch of kind of like wolf-like creatures. So you see Stark kind of going in, firing on everybody. They're taking out several of the creatures. And even when the Lord of the Mountain shows up and tries to take out Stark, freaking Frieren, it's like, hey, Stark, I know you're still alive. Go ahead and, handle business. He like cuts off like I think an arm or two, and Frieren finishes it off. Like they're done. It's easily dispatched. But during this process, they actually see the hero sword, which everyone believed Himmel had the hero sword. And we already know that it was a fake, but we see that the real hero sword is still sitting there inside the cave in the stone, sitting there like Excalibur, and nobody has pulled it. So I'm thinking that Stark is probably going to be the one to pull the sword at some point in time. Maybe he'll get an upgrade. I don't know, but that is my speculation at this point. So it's kind of a wait and see. So Stark is kind of on that journey, but during the process of this, we see that as Stark stares at the sword and they're getting ready to leave, Frieren decides that she'll return in another 50 years to kind of check on the town and see what's going on. So Stark's kind of in heavy thought, and we also find out that it's his 18th birthday, and nobody knew about it till now. And Frieren's like, "Hey, yo, I got a present for him. What are you gonna get him?" And Fern has no idea what to get him, but Frieren does, and she's got a potion that dissolves, clothing, and apparently it's very you know, a lot of guys like this potion. Okay. Frieren is obviously as well versed as she is in the world South African. She misses some of the more obvious things, which tends to happen with people who are super smart. So with that being said, Fern ends up pouring it out over Frieren so that her closes all and leaves her to think about another gift, while Fern goes out and searches for Stark to go pretty much ask him what does he want, because she doesn't know a lot about him. She has refused to kind of get to know him. Every time he's tried to talk to her, he's tried to help her. So with that being said, Freeman's looking for another gift, and we see Fern stalking all over town looking for him and finding out that he has helped several people while he's been there, of course. And she ends up finding him resting after helping several people, and he's looking at the clouds. And of course, looking at the clouds, he sees breasts and poop and whatever other shapes he can make out in the cloud. And she's like, yeah, he is a perv. And then she finds out, not really. He's just immature and so that, which most guys are. So she sees that and she ends up talking to him and asks a question like, hey, want to go for a walk? Let's go hang out. And she asks him about the present. He's like, I don't know. I've never gotten a present before. So you never got a present for your birthday? He's like, he didn't know it was a custom. He didn't know it was a thing that happened. His village valued warriors. So we end up getting a flashback where we see Stark, and his brother Stoles. Stoles is like one of the best warriors in the town. Got this white cloak. He's able to defeat things without getting a drop on his white cloak, which is like very high up there for them and their culture and how they work things. And we see that Stark's father is a bit of a punk. Like he's just like, Stark ain't worth nothing. He's the run. Like he ain't doing nothing. Stoles focus on your training, focus on the stuff, but Stoles still tries to take care of his brother and helps him train and does stuff, while the father is completely dismissive of Stark. Like can't stand this dude right now. And we see that during the flashback, there ends up being an attack, and since Stark is considered a shame, one of the things during the attack is Stark remembers running away during one of the fights. And it was when his village was attacked and everybody was taken out, Demon showed up, he ran away and doesn't know what to do. So as Fern's talking to him and kind of getting the backstory, she offers to buy him something. She offers to buy him a bracelet. She has to pick which one. He picks an expensive one. She's like, yeah, no. So he ends up getting like a nice silver bracelet kind of as a gift. And as we end up getting back to back to the little hotel or whatever, we see Freeren has whipped up some hamburger steaks. Looks like Hamburg steaks, I think is what they're referred to as. And she knows this is a custom from Eisen, who told that's kind of their tradition, is like they would always make Hamburg steaks for warriors. And what he used to do, he used to make it for everyone's birthday every time it came around. Remember, they traveled together for like 10 years, so he's made several steaks. And Freeman remembers his custom, so she made Hamburg steak for Stark, and Stark didn't know what it was, but he just knew it's something his master used to do for him. So this kind of helps him kind of remember. He starts to remember more of the past, and he remembers that his brother used to make him Hamburg steaks. And so his brother considered him a warrior, considered him one because of all the hard work he put in. It's like, let's just keep it between me and you. Like it's a secret between me and you. Stoles was like that dude. He took care of his brother. And this helps start kind of put his memories and stuff back together. And he remembers that he didn't run away because he was scared. And so that he ran away because his brother told him to. He told him to run, told him to be safe. His brother was protecting him. So Stark has nothing to be ashamed of in terms of running away when his, family, the whole town and stuff got slaughtered. He was told to run away and to survive because that's what his brother wanted for him, and he was going to give him time to do so. So we see that kind of realization come to Stark, and awesome, great emotional episodes. I think learning more about Stark is really good because I really love Stark as a character. I love how he's not afraid to, his fear is there, but he's still willing to fight and do things like, something drives him, and I think that's really awesome for him. So hey, I'm enjoying the series. Thanksgiving is going to be next week. We are still going to be covering shows and dropping stuff down. So they may be, a little early, a little late, depending on whatever we get to watch, whenever we get to watch. So please make sure you hit that little subscribe button. Again, appreciate each and every one of y'all who tunes in, and we will try to keep you guys updated with all the stuff that we're getting ready to watch this holiday season, including Fallout, which is one of the big ones to drop. So that's all I got for this one. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.